That's just the alien version. That's just the alien program. There are other programs. I teach a PowerPoint presentation, which my wife thinks is the best one I've ever had. And it's called Aliens, Ghosts, Demons, and Angels. And the signatures of each one of them. They're all different. And they are notably different. So those are 4 programs, basically. One of them God has, and the other one, fallen angelics. Obviously, that's a different circumstance. But I go into the difference between how would you know a fallen angel from one of God's angels? How could you possibly know? Demonic signatures, ghost signatures, alien signatures. How do you know what's what? How can you tell the difference? In fact, how I did this presentation the first time, a ghost conference invited me in Houston, not Houston, but up toward Dallas. And they said, would you please come speak to us? And I said, I'm primarily a UFO guy. I don't know, a lot of you guys think that a lot of the alien research guys are nuts, and a lot of the alien guys think you ghost guys are nuts. I said, not a whole lot of respect there. And they said, please come and speak to us. And I said, okay. And I did. And that was a presentation I gave. A brief look at alien signatures, demonic signatures, ghost signatures, and alien signatures, similarities and distinctions. And that was, it rocked the house. They absolutely went wild over it. Said, you got to come back next year. I said, I just came here to help you. I'm not here to try to get your guest or take off your show or whatever. But the point is that, as I told all of them, I said, there's something you have to understand about yourself. And it's true of the alien phenomena, the ghost phenomena, everything else. You're unique. There's nothing like you. You're sought after by ghosts, demons, angels, aliens, and even your government. If you won't use your brain to think very well, the government will be glad to supply you with plenty of other thoughts that you can dwell on. It'll keep you tied up for the next 20 years. They do that. You're unique. You have enormous potential. You're so unique that the Scripture even talks about you being protected by angelic interventions. So the point is that in each of the reason I bring this up at the last minute of our presentation is I want people to realize, and I'll close with this. One of the finest Bible scholars I ever knew, it was a personal friend of mine. It's really funny because he would come to Roswell and talk to me privately. Now, he's a biblical scholar, Hebrew Ugartic scholar, and he would ask me all these interesting questions about, because I'm a Christian as well, and he had asked me these questions that he couldn't figure out from a PhD level and research. He said, and I laughed and I said, I don't mean to laugh at you. I said, it's just kind of funny that we have these little private meetings, just me and you. And then you go teach your people, and I teach the people here at the museum and so on. And he said, one of the big questions I have is, he said, I'm pretty sure that the chupacabra exists, whatever that thing is. I said, okay. I said, a lot of your cohorts are not going to agree with that. And he said, I knew that if anybody knew anything about it, you would. And I said, I actually would. I said, I think I said, first of all, I got one in my freezer. He said, what? I said, I've got one in my freezer. That's number one. When I tell you I know something, I don't tell you because I think it's true. I can go to court on it. I can prove it. I can bring the DNA with me or the body. And I said, so I said, this is going to sting a little bit. And he said, okay. He said, that's all right. I said, you're part of the problem. He said, what do you mean? I said, well, scholars generally are far apart from the church is a good example. You guys hardly ever show up. When you do, you act like you're, the best thing that fell out of heaven or something. He said, yeah. And I said, a lot of you guys in the 2nd and 3rd century, especially when Catholicism started up, I said, they did all kinds of weird things like translate scriptures into Latin so nobody could, because almost no one could read. And they got it out of the Greek and they got it out of the Hebrew because they didn't want people to understand what it was that they were covering up. I said, you're actually part of that problem. He said, what do you mean? I said, well, I'm going to ask you a question. He said, okay. And I said, I'm going to quote you part of a scripture and I want you to tell me what it says in Hebrew. He said, okay. I said, behold the horseleach. He said, I'm uncomfortable translating that. I said, I'm sure you are. I said, I know what it says. And I know you do too. But the problem is you don't want us, the rest of us, to know about that. Because that's not one of the things you're going to learn in Sunday school. But it's in the Bible. And so there are a lot of things in Scripture that are fascinating and make things a lot clearer and a lot easier to understand if people like you wouldn't keep trying to reinterpret it for us. I said, tell me exactly what the word horseleach means. And he said, well, it's kind of a vampire. I said, thank you. Thank you for telling me what I already know. I said, now, why is that difficult for you or anybody else to mention in church? It's not a vampire like the guy around with teeth biting people. It's not talking about that. It's talking about something that sucks blood. And it's not a leech on a horse like what is kind of indicated in the English language. That's not it, and you know it. He said, no, that's not what it is. I said, well, it's worse than that. And he said, what do you mean? I said, there's your chupacabra. That's the reason you have a problem. A lot of people have a problem with it. You can't find it in Scripture. He said, yeah, that really is the problem. I said, I just showed it to you. Behold the horseleach. And the amazing thing about it, I said, my friend, I said, it says she, it's feminine, has 2 daughters. It procreates, whatever it is. I said, so here we are ignoring these amazing things that we think are ghosts or aliens or demonic or whatever they are, and yet don't even want to talk about them. And there they are in Scripture. I said, that's what bothers me about people like you. I said, you're a good man. You're a decent man. I love you like a brother. But I despise what your system of thinking produces. And that is basically a cover-up. You interpret things for people into and tell them something they can swallow, basically. I want to hear exactly, if God's got something to tell me, I don't want someone reinterpreting it for me. I want to hear the exact message, whatever it is. I said, I'm going to tell you a great truth. It's kind of funny. And he said, okay. I said, toilet paper's not in the Bible either. That doesn't mean it doesn't exist just because it's not mentioned in Scripture. I said, so that's my point. A little humor there, but the point is that just because it's not mentioned in Scripture, first of all, as I told him, I said, you're a Hebrew and a Gartic scholar, and you don't even know this. I said, that's amazing to me. I said, it just amazes me. Anyway, we had a long discussion about that. He's a good friend. I really think the world of him. I really do.
Do you
And
think that's the problem with us as a whole,
I think,
as a species, is because
look at the UFO phenomena. What is it? Who is the alien? Tell me who the alien is. Well, they're interdimensional beings. They're space beings from Jupiter. They're space beings from multiple dimensions. They're time travelers. Really? They're all of those? What if they're not? I'm not saying that there aren't beings from other worlds. In fact, the scriptures are real clear about that. Those of you want to have some fun, the scriptures say that there are, the Apostle Paul in the book of Ephesians, 6 chapters, said there are principalities, powers, thrones, and dominions. All those are bigger than you can imagine. And he gives the location of where they're located. You ready for this? He lists 3 places in the scripture, and one of them, the heaven you see is the atmosphere. The heaven out there is outer space. In the third heaven, the scripture says where God is. The place he describes the principalities, powers, thrones, and dominions, the ones who hatched, grown, made, manufactured this mess, are located in the second heaven. It's called outer space. That's pretty amazing stuff. And it's been there in scripture for 2,000 years. And people are still wondering, well, I wonder why God doesn't tell us all that. He did. You weren't listening.